What's going on, everybody? Liam O'Reilly, Vermont economic realtor. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to share an opinion article that I read in the other paper, which is one of South Burlington's newspapers. It is titled "To Combat Climate Housing Crisis, We Need a Bigger Map." Now, I thought this article was very interesting. I actually read it in the actual paper as opposed to online, but I'll leave the link in the description for you folks to look at. The person who wrote this article, his name is, Vince Bolduc. He's lived in South Burlington for 48 years, former professor of psychology, or excuse me, not psychology, sociology. And what he talks about is not only, what we've discussed on this channel, where the lack of housing and housing density is a big problem. The affordable housing around the area, especially here in Vermont, is a big issue, but that about how it's affecting climate change is that South Burlington here in Vermont is one of the urban centers, along with Burlington, in Chittenden County, the most populous county of the state. And a lot of these new housing developments are being built in towns like Heinsberg or Shelburne or Williston that are a little bit less populated, and people have to commute for miles to come into these towns to get things like groceries or potentially travel for work, depending on what type of work they do. So this housing crisis, as we've talked about many times on this channel, this inventory crisis is also impacting things like climate change, which is something that, as a Vermonter and as somebody who lives in Vermont, the general consensus here is that Vermonters care about their climate. We're the Green Mountain State. We have a lot of people who care about the outdoors, and I think the general attitude of most people here is that we want to be mindful and protective of our climate and of our environment. But when we push people out of the denser parts of Vermont and ask them to commute to these areas, either for work or just in general for groceries or appointments, things along these lines, where they would have lived in South Burlington or Burlington if they were given the opportunity, but because housing is restrictive, we're pushing them out of the areas. In this article, he mentions that around 45% of greenhouse gas emissions are caused by commuters and caused by cars here in the state, and a big portion of that are people who live outside of these urban areas. So he also mentions, which I can see being a very valid point, that a lot of people who are affected by this, a lot of people who are commuters into South Burlington or Burlington, either for work or for whatever other reason, like appointments, restaurants, things like that, all of this adds up as far as commuting and CO2 emissions. These aren't people who are attending the town meetings. They're not the people that are going out there and opposing the new developments that are proposed in these city meetings, because they're not a part of the town, because they were pushed out, whether it's affordability reasons or whatever it might be. They're not the ones that are there and can advocate for themselves. So these are people whose voices often don't get heard in the town meetings when a lot of these housing plans are rejected. So shorter video here today, just something to think about. I'll leave the article in the description. I thought it was a very interesting point, talking about how the housing crisis is affecting the climate, as well as obviously housing and specifically affordability for people looking for housing or people having trouble affording their housing, whether that be buying or renting a home. So, Liam O'Reilly, Vermont economic realtor. All my contact information is listed below. If you're interested in selling or purchasing a home here in Vermont, I would be happy to help you. If you're looking in another state, I'd be happy to find you a great realtor in that state. Otherwise, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.